Welcome to the world's first Heart Gold and Soul Silver Damageless playthrough. This video is showing side-by-side completion of both games, Heart Gold being ran by Lolzax, and Soul Silver being ran by myself, Teasums. Let's introduce the rules quickly and then jump straight into it. Although this is a damageless playthrough, and that might be enough challenge for some, we love problem solving and have years of experience with high level Pokemon. So the main goal of this challenge for us was to instead never risk taking damage at any point in the run. To ensure this never happened, we had to assume every battle we faced was against perfect IV Pokemon that simultaneously had positive defense, special defense, and speed natures, so that we left nothing to chance. This effectively buffs the bulk of opposing Pokemon, and means that we have to be even stronger than a standard damageless run would require. We will not use any items in battle other than held items and balls. This is the standard of Pokemon challenge runs, which isn't actually massively applicable to this run, as things like X items would only be helpful in 1 or 2 battles. We also introduced a few more rules to increase the difficulty further. We will not be using the Master Ball or catching any legendaries, and although this is more of a guideline than a rule, we also tried to route the game using as few Pokemon as possible for every section. Lastly is the ruling on saves. We never saved in front of a difficult fight so we could try it again and again. We always prepared for fights adequately before getting there, and then only ever loaded back to a save when we made a mistake. Due to the infrequency of our save points, this made taking damage very punishing, as we'd need to replay sometimes hours of grinding to get back to where we were. Unfortunately, this run is incredibly long, and we're both human. Mistakes happened, but our final save files never took any damage. That's enough talk, let's get into it. The first important choice of the run was choosing the starter. Before you get the ability to catch any more Pokemon, there is a battle with a trainer with Quick Attack, so we had to have a priority move of our own. Cyndaquil is the only starter that learns a priority move by level up, so it was the only option. Typhlosion also learns Eruption, which is a very powerful move in Damageless, as it is always 150 base power. We made sure that the speed stat of our Cyndaquil was 12 speed or higher, so that if we needed to flee from a level 4 max speed Pidgey, we'd always be able to. As far as natures go, optimally you'd want Mild or Rash. I did have Mild in my run, but they aren't required, as Lolzax proved using Adamant in his. As long as you don't have a negative speed nature, anything works. Lolzax, tell them about the grind we had to do for the first trainer.
The first trainer that we faced was our rival. For this fight, we had to grind on Metapods and Kakunas on Route 30. They only have a 15% encounter rate, but since they have no attacking moves, they are the only thing we can safely battle. Once we learned Ember, we were able to take out some Caterpies and Weedles, which sped up the grind significantly. Eventually, we were able to one-shot everything on the route, which made life so much easier. Hours of grinding later, we had an evolved level 20 Quilava with Flame Wheel, which could guarantee the one-shot on Totodile.
The grind for this first battle took 3 hours. This is going to be a long one. There are many hurdles in a damageless playthrough. We will show the first time we encounter each of them and explain how we got past them, but we will not cover every instance of them. For example, wild Pokemon and trainers having priority moves. The easiest way to handle this is to use a strong priority move of your own. For youngsters Joey and Mikey, on Route 30, we did exactly that, using Quick Attack on our Quilava versus their Rattatas. This might be the first ever challenge run, where youngster Joey is an actual threat and not a complete joke. Falkner was not very difficult. After getting a few more levels, Flame Wheel was able to take out all his Pokemon.
Now, we needed to grind in preparation for the second gym, where the threat is a Quick Attack Scyther. We could have trained our Typhlosion up to roughly level 66 to deal with this, but instead, we decided to hatch our Togepi egg. In this generation, Togepi is a normal type, so we headed over to the Sprout Tower, where we could safely catch a Ghastly, since the ones found here can only learn Ghost type moves. Haunter was the backbone of our entire run, so this was a worthwhile investment. To power up our Ghastly, we initially battled wild Pokemon in Union Cave. However, this was a lot faster for my run, since in Soul Silver there is a much higher chance of encountering Rattata. Due to this, I stayed here for the majority of the grind, whereas Teasums moved over to grind in the Ilex Forest, where he also was getting some special attack EVs. We were able to beat the Scyther when we were about level 34. By
the time we beat Bugsy's gym, our in-game time was now up to 14.5 hours.
Here, we also encountered our first double battle. These pop up now and then, different ways to beat each one, such as only having one Pokemon in your party, using a priority move and another strong Pokemon, or using a spread move.
Due to the strange nature of a damageless playthrough, the difficulty varies drastically at different points in the run. A battle that might require 0 attention in a normal run can be a huge obstacle in damageless, but equally, as you sometimes have to overlevel to overcome issues, you can find yourself cruising through parts that might actually be considered difficult in a standard run. Having a Haunter with Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse, and a Typhlosion with Lava Plume, both well overleveled, make things like Whitney's gym a complete non-issue. With this in mind, we won't be covering how we beat the 5th, 6th or 8th gym leaders, as nothing new or noteworthy happens in them. Right after Whitney, we did have an obstacle though. On Route 37, there are two trainers that ambush you into a double battle. They only use normal types, so our Haunter is useless, and our Typhlosion isn't yet strong enough to take them both out with the spread move. To get around this, we removed all but one Pokemon from our party, and then walked right into their trap. The game is coded to never give you a double battle unless you have 2 or more Pokemon in your party, so they calmly queue and battle you one by one, making it much easier. At this point in the run, while I was mindlessly grinding, I hit a Nidoran with a contact move and got poisoned. But as the Nidoran is taken out by the attack and the battle ends before the poison damage ticks, I can apply an antidote to cure it before any steps are taken. No HP is lost, and it is still perfectly damageless. In trainer battles with multiple Pokemon and abilities that can inflict status on contact, we can need to only use non-contact moves to OHKO them, or be immune to the status condition they can inflict.
Morty's Ghost Gym caused more problems with fast Pokemon using Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is much more of a threat than Quick Attack, as you can't be immune to it due to typing. The obvious way to get through something like this is to catch a Pokemon that learns a priority move that isn't normal type, such as Aqua Jet. But catching and training up one of these would take hours, so instead, he came up with an interesting strategy that would save lots of time using Raticate. Against the Haunters that had Sucker Punch and Curse, we opened up with Taunt to block the Curse, and either use a non-attacking move or Quick Attack to make Sucker Punch fail, as it only succeeds if they go first and we use an attacking move. Once Sucker Punch failed 5 times, it was out of power points, and we could finish it off with Crunch. This is one of the very few battles in the game that we did without being overleveled and lasted more than 1 turn per knockout. At this point, we gained access to the daycare, where we could gain XP without battling. We used this to safely train up our Pokemon. This meant that we were able to take our Haunter and Typhlosion up to level 100 with ease. We had to be very careful with what moves Pokemon had left to learn, as the daycare automatically replaces older moves with newer ones. We also gained access to the Safari Zone, which allowed us to catch Pokemon to be used later in the run without risking any damage.
After the events of the Lake of Rage, where we picked up the choice specs, the next noteworthy battle happened at the Rocket Hideout. Where there is a team-up battle with Lance, we needed to use a powerful spread move to knock out both the opponent's Pokemon in one attack. Choice Specs Eruption fit the bill nicely. The 7th gym in Mahogany, Price's Ice Gym, required these newly acquired high levels to ensure Quick Attack from Typhlosion could take out the level 32 Dugong that had Ice Shard. It is at this point in the story where the true evil team surfaces. The villainous Kimono Girls have a nefarious plot to abuse the strength we possess as a trainer, to call down powerful legendary beasts, only to snatch them away and use them to descend the land of Johto into darkness. Fortunately, we caught on to their plot, and sought to foil them when they least expected it. We play along with them, going to the summoning ritual, and then seize the opportunity when the girls are entranced, to destroy the Master Ball and free the beasts from their perpetual enslavement the only way we can, by helping them move on from this mortal plane. We're banned from catching them in our rules, so we figured if we can't have them, no one can.
For the Elite Four, it's possible to only use Haunter alongside a strong priority Pokemon solely there to beat the 2 priority users that the Elite Four have. In Heart Gold, I used Mach Punch Hitmonlee that I bred for later, whereas Teasums in Soul Silver used an Ice Shard Mamoswine. Furthermore, Birdkeeper Lance gets swept by 6 Shadow Balls, so it's honestly a dull final boss. Might have been more of a challenge if he actually brought some dragons like he was supposed to. Unfortunately, there is more. Well, there's Kanto, which for some reason doesn't actually increase in difficulty at all, and so again, there's no problem. Ultimately, this all leads to Red, who actually poses a humongous threat.
Well, in Kanto, Brock did actually cause a little bit of a headache for my run in Soul Silver. The only priority on my team was Quick Attack Typhlosion and Ice Shard Mamoswine, both of which are resisted by Brock's level 52 Kabutops that has Aqua Jet. To get past this as quickly as possible, I decided to go to Viridian Forest and smash my head against a tree until I found a Shroomish. Breloom, with its 130 base attack and learning Mach Punch by level up, seemed ideal. Finally, only the secret final boss Red remains. Red has some incredibly high level Pokemon, some of which with impressive defensive stats adding together to make a very difficult one-shot. For reference, a max attack Dragonite using Outrage while holding a Draco Plate barely KOs. Unfortunately, we couldn't make use of such powerful Pokemon versus Red, due to the one thing that makes this run almost impossible. It's hailing on top of Mount Silver. Back in Generation 4, there were very few powerful Pokemon immune to the effects of hail, and even less are obtainable in our special challenge. To be immune to hail, the Pokemon must either be an Ice type or have an ability that grants it immunity, as Safety Goggles has not yet been introduced. Weavile and Glaceon, 2 of the hardest hitting Ice types, are both unobtainable, due to the rules banning trading and the Battle Frontier. The Battle Frontier hurts deepest of all, as every one of the move tutors charge BP until we're inaccessible to us. This almost completely removed the availability of fighting type moves, which made Snorlax into an absolute raid boss, due to it being incredibly fat, and us not being able to hit it super effectively. After hours of calcing and theory crafting with every ice type we could catch without taking damage, we found exactly one ice type that could beat Snorlax. Sneasel, with a literal perfect attack IV, positive nature, perfectly EV trained, using a cheesy flinch locking moveset, could barely secure the KO. The grinding that would have been required to obtain such a Sneasel would have been absurd, so I looked for another way. Eventually finding Sandstream Tyranitar, running a similar flinch storm moveset, but with a much less strenuous IV limitations. This did however create more issues, as now I needed to design a team that could beat the rest of Red's team in Hail or Sandstorm, as Snorlax could come out anywhere from 2nd to 6th. Fortunately, more typings are immune to Sandstorm damage than Hail, so I was less restricted. One of the Pokemon I planned to use in Hail was Jinx, decent special attack, a good move pool, and seemed to be relatively easy to catch. I was wrong about that. Upon researching further into the catch rate calculation in Generation 4, I found that basically back then, catching was harder, and Jinx could not be caught the way I originally intended. A level 22 Jinx that is asleep with a level ball while using a level 100 only gave a 78.4% catch chance. This is the most optimal status and ball combination that would have required me to get a Pokemon with Sport to level 100 just for the purposes of this catch, but even that doesn't guarantee it, and so it isn't allowed in the rules. We did manage to find a way around this, but it sucked so hard. Rather than sleeping the Jinx turn 1, if we use Fake Out and it takes its HP down below 30%, we can again use the level ball to get a 99.994% catch chance. A level ball's maximum catch chance increase is obtained by using a Pokemon with level equal to the target's level plus 1 times 4. This meant for the level 22 Jinx, the minimum level Pokemon we could use would be level 92. However, a level 92 Pokemon using a 40 base power move against a level 22 with shockingly low defense and not KOing is just unrealistic. Or so it seemed. The lowest base attack Pokemon that can learn Fake Out is Mime Jr., with just 25 attack, which, with a negative attack nature, low attack IVs, 0 attack EVs, and going up against an incredibly bulky Jinx with a positive defense nature and high defense and HP IVs, sometimes doesn't quite kill. Awesome, now time to get one. Oh, it needs to learn Fake Out via Egg Move. That's fine, let's see what parents are compatible to breed Fake Out. Oh, Sableye, that would work. Oh, or not, it's not in Soul Silver. Well then, Makuhita I guess will have to work. It requires the use of the Hoenn Sound Radio Pokegear to spawn, which I've never used before, but hey, can't be too bad. Only on a Wednesday. Great. Well, a few days later, or more accurately, making my game think it was a few days later, boom, Wednesday. Radio on, easy catch. Breeding time. The odds of getting a usable Mime Jr. from the hatch is only 5.8%. How hard can it be?
8 hours later.
Well, that sucked way more than needed to. Seriously, 8.5 hours of grinding later, and I finally got one with a low enough attack AV and a usable nature. I got seriously unlucky. I then wasted its EVs in special attack, speed, and defense, trained it up to level 92, and prepared for the next grind, of encountering a Jinx that would live a Fake Out. Oh, second encounter. Nice. A bit of breeding and EV training later, and my whole team was ready for Red. I lead Mamoswine and use Ice Shard. Boosted by the Nevermelt Ice, it secures the KO on Pikachu before it can use Quick Attack. Saying that Blastoise will be coming out second, I have a look at my Jinxes to remind myself which one is which. Selecting the one with Grass Knot. It has Choice Specs equipped, and with this, it is able to take out Blastoise, and also has the potential to take out Lapras if that comes out before Snorlax. With Charizard coming out third, I switch into my other Jinx, which has Blizzard. It is carrying Wise Glasses to increase the damage slightly, and the Hail here is actually working in my favour, as Blizzard cannot miss when it is hailing. This Blizzard would also be able to take out Venusaur if it came up before Snorlax. Snorlax coming out 4th is perfect, as it means I'll be able to use all 6 of my Pokemon in this run. Would have been a real shame to prepare all of them and then only use 4 in the fight. I open with Protect to make sure that Snorlax takes 1 turn of Sandstorm damage. I then use Fling to throw my King's Rock at Snorlax, which is a 100% flinch chance, and secures a second tick of Sandstorm. Another Protect nets me the 3rd Sandstorm tick, before following it up with a Crunch to take out the remaining HP. With Sandstorm now raging for the rest of the battle, my Ice types can't be used anymore. Lapras coming out next means I need to go into Magneton to use Thunderbolt boosted by Magnet. This would also have been able to take out Blastoise if that came out after Snorlax. Finally, the Venusaur. I switched from my Aerodactyl to use Wing Attack boosted by Sharp Beak. It's carrying Ancient Power as well, which would have been able to take out the Charizard if it came out after the Snorlax. It's over. I've done it. This entire run put my game time to over 400 hours. This was a gargantuan run, but in all fairness, this time is much longer than needed. I left my game on while I was AFK sometimes, and I used the daycare to grind more than 6 Pokemon to level 100, just to reduce the chance of me making mistakes. Grinding on more Pokemon would have net me XP much faster and drastically reduced the time. But it comes with an element of risk of, if I'm half asleep while pressing buttons and I press the wrong button, I take damage. This challenge is complete, and I've become the first person to beat Pokemon Soul Silver without taking damage. But more importantly, routing the entire game with only a 0.006% chance of failure. This isn't the 100% chance that I originally was shooting for, but hey, I can't complain. You'd have to be incredibly unlucky for that Jinx to break out of the ball, and that's the only point in the run where they can ever deal you damage, as you breed for the other Jinxes. I'm certain, with it hailing up on Mount Silver, it is impossible to root the game 100% damageless.
Well, why not just play God and have no hail? Turns out, there is an Easter egg in the game called Diamond Dust, which appears on certain days of the year at the top of Mount Silver, and it overrides hail, meaning you no longer take hail damage. By setting it to be one of these days when you take on Red, you alleviate the main thing that he is going for him, so I wanted to beat him with as few Pokemon as possible. Red leads with a quick attack Pikachu, so I knew I needed either a Ghost type or a strong priority user. Initially, looking into Ghost types, none were able to beat enough of Red's team to make it worthwhile. Then, I looked into Pokemon with extreme speed, but I realised that since Pikachu has static and most priority moves make contact, my lead Pokemon risked being paralysed, and so I'd need a team of at least 3 Pokemon. But I wanted to do better. I searched around for any Pokemon with priority that cannot be paralysed, and I found Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee has the ability Limber, meaning it is immune to paralysis. It has access to Fake Out, which it gets when hatched, and Mach Punch, which it gets as an egg move from Hitmonchan. This made it the perfect Pokemon for Pikachu, while still being able to be used for the other members of Red's team. With access to close combat, it could also take out Lapras' Snorlax. Now I was left with beating Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. With lots of calcs, I couldn't find a single Pokemon that could beat all 3 with a 100% success rate, and was also obtainable. Ultimately, I decided that I needed to see if I could force my Hitmonlee to beat one of these 3. I struggled to find anything that would work for a while, until I realised that Hitmonlee has access to Natural Gift, which has its typing vary based on what berry it's holding. Holding a Wiki Berry makes it a 100% accurate rock move, which can one-shot his Charizard. Now all I had to do was beat Venusaur and Blastoise with one Pokemon, both of which are quite tanky and need a strong move to beat them. While looking at hard-hitting special attackers with access to Psychic, I remembered Espeon has access to a move that hardly gets any use, Trump Card. When this move has 1 PP left, it is a 200 base power normal type special move, which, with a Silk Scarf, guarantees the knockout on Blastoise. So I had done it. Tyrogue and Eevee are both gifted Pokemon, so I didn't risk any damage in getting them. Also, Hitmonlee and Espeon can beat Red without risking taking any damage. Oh yeah, that thing I said about Diamond Dust. Just set your date such that when you take on Red there is no hail. Yeah, it would be nice if that worked for me first try. The game doesn't like you messing around with your clock settings, and it has a cooldown period in which it won't work. Unfortunately, this isn't well documented at all, and so I've wasted many days trying to get Diamond Dust to appear. With some fairly thorough testing, it just seems it will not work for me on my emulator. It's such a shame that I couldn't complete the run for the video, however I did complete my goal to find a route which never risked taking damage all the way up to and including Red, so I am very proud of this achievement. My in-game time was way lower than Teasum's, coming in at about 109 hours. I reckon I can beat this in under 90 hours, so if I can find a way to record on the DS, I'll come back to this and do it all over again.
And with that, all that's left to say is thank you for watching. This was a super fun challenge, and I'm really glad we did it. Not sure I would have got through some of the tough bits without having Lolzax by my side, suffering along with me. Not that the suffering at the end of the run was equal. So big shout out for him for all his help with the whole project. This isn't my first rodeo with Damageless. I was also the first person to ever beat Pokemon Platinum Damageless, which I did make a video about, but I didn't record the whole run as I never intended to upload it in the first place, so the video just shows the final few battles. I do use a very different team to Smalland though, so if you want to see the Elite Four in Pokemon Platinum get taken out by only 2 Pokemon, link in the description. Damageless runs I find super fun, and I don't know if I would have ever started doing them if not for Smalland and Game Champ. Particularly, watching Ant live in his first few hours of Platinum Damageless tipped me over the edge and made me want to get in there on the fun. Seeing a streamer I really respect live playing through a run that I thought was super cool on my favourite game, I felt I had to join him on that journey. It also helped that I've been a huge Pokemon nerd for years now, so I felt I knew the mechanics, especially of Gen 4, rather well, that would enable me to not only attempt the crazy Damageless run, but also add a few extra rules to spice it up. I doubt this is the end of my Extreme Pokemon Challenge career, so be sure to look out for more from me. Though the next one will be a ways off, as I need a break from this game. I've been killing myself working on this run and video for too long now, and need some time away from Pokemon. 400+ hour run is no joke.